At the beginning of this year and throughout this year, I have not been able to shake this unction of the Holy Spirit, awaken the kingdom warriors, and find David's mighty men. In the last 24 hours, I was at a wedding where I bumped into somebody that I haven't seen in several years who, when I mentioned something briefly of this, was like, that's what God's been telling me. And then yesterday I met a dinner with friends, and one of those people whom I go to church with that I didn't know super well, but we're exchanging stories. And later on, I sent a voice text message and follow up to our discussion, where I include some of that in there. And he's like, that's what God's been telling me. God's on the move. God's up to something. So what does awakening a kingdom warrior and finding David's mighty men even mean? It's a good question, and something that I am exploring. Eleazar, and this is in 1 Chronicles 11:12-14 and 2 Samuel 23, but Eleazar was one of those people who helped overcome. He was one of 3 mighty men, and he was with them when they defied the Philistines, who were gathered there for battle, and the men of Israel withdrew. He rose and struck down the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand clung to the sword. And the Lord brought about a great victory that day, and the men returned after him only to strip the slain. So all the soldiers fled, and just David and Eleazar, and I may pronounce that incorrectly, were left to fight. I don't know about you, but often it feels like as God's people, we're outnumbered, we're set apart. But God's called us into these places and will give us, by his grace, strength to overcome unbearable challenges, weakness, weariness, to the point where our hand can stick to the proverbial sword. So if you ever are weary, physically tired, finding it hard to live his way, Yahweh's way, that's one of the tactics of the enemy. He wants to wear out the saints of the Most High. I think Daniel 7:27 says that. So whether that's to wear you out, be weary, oppress, run down, but is it Ephesians 6? When you've done all to stand firm. He wants to erode your strength, your zeal. He wants to distract us. How distracting has the last couple of years been? Even Job had one problem after another, had failures in the same areas. Even this morning, there is something about my character where I'm like frustrated at my ability to focus. So, back to Eleazar. They took their stand in the midst of a plot. This is 1 Chronicles 11:12-14. A plot of land, and defended it and killed the Philistines, and the Lord saved them from a great victory. Even though they were tired, there was an easy way out, but they stood their ground. And everyone else, apart from him and David, fled, but they took their stand. There are places that God's calling you to stand today. Could be in your family, could be at work, could be with friends, could be in what you believe. What that looks like, God will give you wisdom on. 4 times in Ephesians 6, Paul's writing to the Ephesians and talks about taking a stand. Verse 11, 6, stand against the schemes of the devil. Verse 13, withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, like I said a moment ago, stand firm. And then verse 14, stand therefore. One of the things that we want to do if we win is learn to stand. We can pray, we can fast, we can read the word, we can witness, we can do all these things. What if nothing changes? Do we give up? We keep standing. Having done all, after we've done everything, we stand firm. Yeah, we stand firm. Where do you need to stand firm?